In our last video, we got a very interesting comment that asks, eBay has an algorithm where I think you need to list consistently to make sales. So how would listing one product or two in bulk can generate sales when there is no momentum in listing? Many thanks. Now this question set me down a rabbit hole, a deep dive into the world of eBay gurus, their advice, and their so-called secrets to success. And let me tell you, it was a confusing mess of contradictions. Optimize workflow, list faster, list often. First, they usually never call it by its actual name. It's just this vague algorithm like a mysterious force they either don't fully understand or maybe they do and they're just keeping you in the dark. Secondly, their advice, it's literally the opposite of what eBay's algorithm actually wants. In the reseller model, because you're selling a bunch of one-off items, they push for speed. Take photos in under 30 seconds, list in 1 minute. Are you serious? In 30 seconds, I can't even figure out which photo belongs to which items in the same memory card, let alone take and list them. Now here's the kicker. When people actually push back and tell these gurus that they're burnt out and frustrated, the same gurus actually flip the script. Suddenly, it's all about quality and not speed, exactly what the algorithm wanted all along. But why didn't they just say that in the first place? Look, the algorithm is not some insatiable monster that demands constant tributes of young maidens that we have to chain to a cliff. A quick Google search and we find that it's called Cassini. It's eBay's proprietary algorithm software. Guys, it's just a search engine, and what it really wants is simple: quality listings at competitive prices. No magic, no mystery, just good old listings done right. In fact, here is its list of demands right here on the eBay site of best listing practices. So what it really wants is titles, item specifics, quality photos, and price. What's going on, guys? Pegasus back again with another educational video. Today we're going to cover a few things. First, I want to debunk a couple of myths that's been circulating in the YouTube conversation that's just simply bad advice out there. Number two, we're going to cover all the bases to exactly what makes a killer listing on eBay, as well as understanding all of the metadata that's behind it. And we'll even have a bonus area at the end about exactly how you could reposition your business so that it would be more aligned with exactly what eBay's Cassini algorithm is looking for. So some resellers out there believe that if you have a listing that isn't doing very well, you could go ahead and take it down and then relist it again, as if the algorithm is going to give a fresh new listing a little bit of a visibility boost or something. But that's not what actually happens, right? Because that's not what the algorithm is looking for. Look, if you follow a lot of these gurus selling advice, right, then chances are you're putting out some rushed listings. And a rushed listing most likely is just going to have a couple of snapshots followed by a generic title, a brief description, and then maybe you didn't even spend that much time on the item specifics. So the issue with this is that Cassini is always going to scan each listing that you put up, whether or not it is a quality listing or not. So picture this, it's a lot more like getting in line for an establishment and not being able to get in because the bouncer sees that, you're not following the dress code. So getting back in line is really not going to make much of a difference, because once you get up to the bouncer, he's going to see, no, I'm still not letting you into the club. And that's exactly how Cassini works. So there's this belief out there that's floating around saying that you need to constantly be putting up new listings on your store in order to stay relevant on eBay, and this is going to increase the visibility of your store. See, the devil is in the details in that one, right? Because the problem is that when people do shop on platforms like eBay, eBay is not showing them stores. eBay is showing them listings. Your store is only a vessel for all of your listings. So at the end of the day, it's still most important that you put up quality listings, which has always been the advice that you should have gotten from the beginning. So if the perfect listing consists of 4 key elements: the title, the item specifics, quality photos, and pricing, you might wonder to yourself, why exactly are they prioritized in that specific order? Well, you already know that titles are most likely going to contain all the keywords that's going to fit the search queries so that your item comes up properly. For the title section, I went ahead and specifically told ChatGPT that I would like to help my audience create the best titles using ChatGPT. So we will start off with a prompt over here, right? Which is, I want to create an SEO driven title for my product. And then you put in whatever your product name is and help me create a title optimized for 80 characters. And what information do you need from me? This is going to allow ChatGPT to make a checklist for you to follow. This way, it gives you 8 steps right here: the product name, brand name, key features, target keywords, audience, condition, competitor insight, character limit, right? So you have all these things to fill out and then give to Chat in order to help it help you, right? So the one thing that is a quick tip over here is the target keywords. There is many different websites that you could go to. I'll put one in the link in the description later that you could go ahead and then use that website to plug in exactly what your product item is, right? Just a brief description of it. And then you'll come up with a whole bunch of keywords for it. And then from there, right, ChatGPT is going to go ahead and then tell you, right, based on the product name. So what it has over here is just an example of the walkthrough, right? So a waterproof hiking backpack, and then it goes key features: waterproof, 30-liter capacity, lightweight, adjustable straps, yada, yada, yada. And then it gives you the ChatGPT generated title. So one of the titles right here is waterproof hiking backpack, 30 liters, lightweight gear, adjustable, right? And if you don't like that, then you would just go ahead and tell Chat, like, could you give me a couple more examples? And then normally we'll spew out about 10 more examples for you to use your own discretion and choose the right title that most fits exactly what you're trying to create. So what I really like about the result that I got over here is that it even have some tips for us to optimize even further, right? Which is to front load the keywords. So when you use a keyword generator based on the item that you're doing, you want to take the best keywords that's most relevant to your item and try to put them as much into the beginning of the title as much as you can. This really helps Cassini out as far as helping you place and rank better within the marketplace. So then you want to remove unnecessary keywords and then capitalize for clarity. So this tells you exactly what we're trying to do here. This structure method turns title creation into a clear, repeatable process that balances SEO with human readability. So it's going to, work good for the customer and is also going to work good for Cassini. And that's exactly what the algorithm is looking for. So here we're going to talk about some item specifics. For this example, I did a camera bag backpack. And then you'll see on the left-hand side over here, there's brand, type, color, and then how it fits and other features. So these are item specifics that a lot of sellers are putting into their products so that we could help narrow down the field of search, making it easier for customers to search for items. And that's why item specifics is the second most important thing after a title. Now, what I recommend is that before you put on your item, you go ahead and research a couple of items that are comparable to your item to see what kind of item specifics that eBay is really looking for and other sellers are currently doing right now, so you can go ahead and push in all the relevant information into your listing as you build it. At this point, I know exactly what you're thinking. How come the photos are not prioritized higher in this hierarchy? I mean, aren't pictures worth 1,000 words? Well, technically, absolutely yes. However, in this logic, the problem is that if your titles and your item specifics are not set up properly first, people are not even going to see your listing in their searches. So granted, you have beautiful photos, those two actually take precedence over photos, and that's why photos is ranked third. So to get into photos, I must first show you the difference between typical photos that most resellers are taking versus a professional company photo and what the difference and nuances are, because there are many different types of photos out there. So today's example is going to be one of my personal products. And first, I'm going to show you what my photos would have looked like in its earliest stages as we progress on from a reseller type kind of photo into a professional company type photo. So here's what the product would look like had I just taken the photo on my own using either my camera phone or possibly a webcam. However, this is what the photo would evolve into had it been sent out to a professional photographer. Afterwards, this photo is then handed to the product image specialist for further enhancements. You could see that the adjustments were made where the background is a lot cleaner, the lighting is enhanced, and all the edges of the piping is also corrected. The original lifestyle photo taken by our professional photographer would have looked something like this with proper lighting and placement. Once handed over to our infographic designer, our new infographic photo would look like this, with a header, some text, and a couple of bullet points. We would also have close-up shots to show the dimensions of the product, as well as some other infographic features to showcase the item, possibly a comparison photo, and ultimately an enhanced lifestyle photo that could be used as our hero photo. Now, if we put that all together, we have more of a themed looking listing as opposed to a generic listing. So while there's no specific rule saying that you have to use enterprise level professional photos in order to do a listing, Cassini will recognize, like the first photo, as clear quality photo and give you a pass. However, using those better photos is definitely going to help with your conversion rate. And that in turn, having the higher STR in your metadata is what's going to set your listing apart from others and make your listing rank higher than other listings. So having the professional quality photos, it won't initially help with your rankings, but indirectly over time, as you make more and more sales on the same listing, that listing will start to rank higher and higher. Once again, we are back at the screen capture here, and you guys already know exactly what this is, the eBay fee calculator. So what Cassini wants from us is that we're going to come up with a competitive price in order to sell our item. So I recommend to reverse engineer a price so that before you even do this item, you won't put yourself in a bad situation. So what I mean by this is that first, we're going to decide exactly what we're going to be selling, right? So we're going to take that item and then compare it to a bunch of current other competitor prices to try to get an average sell price of exactly what the market value is. So let's just say whatever item it is that we're selling has an average sell price of about $35. Now, what you need to do is take your landed cost of item. And what I mean by that is that whatever it costs you to source that item landed to your door, that is your actual cost, right? So it can't just be, what you're quoted from overseas. Is after shipping, after everything. So your item costs in this case, let's just say the item is about like $7.50. And then if it's roughly about like, 1 pound shipping or something like that, then your average shipping cost with Ground Advantage these days might be around $7. So once we have a couple of these numbers plugged in, okay, you want to go ahead and start selecting exactly what your category is. Now, the eBay fee calculator isn't super updated, so it's not going to be, dead on accurate, but it's 90% accurate. It's going to get you pretty close. So now what the calculation is showing us is that we will roughly get about $16 in profit for this sale. However, you have to keep in mind that when you're doing business, you should also calculate a small threshold for loss, right? And what I mean by that is that sometimes you're going to meet a bad customer. Sometimes you're going to lose some items. Sometimes when something gets lost in transit or becomes unsalvageable for any reason, there's going to be some loss. So normally for my business, I'll calculate about a 3% loss. So within every single quarter, as long as I am within that 3% threshold, I'm not really going to make any adjustments. And I'm not going to worry about it that much because that 3% is just factored into the cost of business. So therefore, right now at $16, we're sitting pretty right now. However, it could be possible that the market perceived value of your current item is only, say, around like $24. So if it's at $24, you're going to see our profit is significantly less, down to $6.38. Now, here's the calculation, all right? When you look at $6.38 versus your initial risk of $7.50, See, shipping costs is not a risk because that doesn't happen until after the sale. So your risk is your landed cost before the sale. So if you're going to risk $7.50 into an item to only get a return of $6.38, you are looking at a 83 cents on the dollar type of return. So therefore, this is something that you really need to consider. If you can move a reasonable quantity at a time so that you're more of a volume seller, then this might be more worth your time. Otherwise, then you probably want to be looking into an item that has a higher perceived value on the marketplace. Because at the end of the day, again, what Cassini is looking for is that we put up prices that are competitive to the rest of the listings up there, and that way we could get ranked higher within the platform. So I bet you guys thought I totally forgot about descriptions, right? No, not at all. Actually, the reason why I saved it all the way for the end is because I wanted you guys to know that Cassini actually doesn't care too much about exactly what your descriptions are. It doesn't fall as part of the ranking system, not in the direct sense. So let me explain exactly what's going on. When you write a description, it is way more for the eyes of your customers at the end of the day. That's what's going to push them over the fence. Well-written descriptions, A+ content, that's what's really going to put your customers at ease when they pull the trigger and try to give you money, because it's going to show brand loyalty. It's going to show professionalism, a lot of things that translates into a good sell-through rate. And having a good sell-through rate in the future is going to help you rank much, much higher. So when we talk about things like this, we need to start to understand exactly what metadata is. So what is metadata exactly? Well, in this particular sense, metadata is a lot of the data that it's in the back end of your listings that helps your listings rank very well. So whether it has a good click-through rate, whether it has a good sell-through rate, a lot of eyeballs on your listing already, meaning how many watchers you already have on your listing. All of these things matter, right? How people responded to your listings, what the feedbacks were. So because eBay constantly takes these things into account, it is really important that you have a listing that's constantly making sales. And this exactly explains the original question at the start of this video about momentum. See, a business like mine, I don't really have that many listings, not as many as a lot of the resellers out there. I have under 1,000 listings actually, and all of my listings constantly drive traffic and are constantly selling. So where is my momentum coming from if I could go on in my business for something like 6 months to sometimes even 2 years without putting on a brand new listing? It's because all of my listings are already constant movers, and they have that metadata behind it to actually have Cassini want to prioritize my listing above other listings within my category. And that's exactly where my constant momentum would actually come from. So one last thing to wrap up all of the elements that you're probably wondering about is the promoted listings, right? So once you start putting, how many percentage of commission that you want to give your listing that little added extra oomph, well, essentially it works like this, right? If you do everything that Cassini is already asking for, then it's going to give you a pass and let you join the club. So what that means is that if your listing is a quality listing, then it's going to show up in the search. The question is, where is it going to show up in the search, right? Because if you have a bad listing, then the listing might just be completely invisible. That's what Cassini actually does. So if you're meeting all the parameters, right, and your listings are showing up in search, all that promotion does is help bump you closer to the top because you paid for it. That's the only difference that it actually makes. So it really depends what's happening in your genre, in your niche, in your category, right? If you have a very, very professional listing and it's brand new, maybe you want to go ahead and promote it for a little while. Once you have a good click-through rate and sell-through rate in your metadata, you could go ahead and start relying more and more on organic traffic and then start bringing that promoted ad rating down from like 9% to 7% to 5 to 3%. You don't have to give it that much money anymore because you're already doing well. If your niche actually happens to be highly competitive and then you see a whole bunch of people, they have ads and they're doing very, very professional photos and stuff, then yeah, you really need to look at exactly what your margins are to see how you could stay competitive in that field. Otherwise, maybe you'd have to just completely avoid that market. So guys, while I hate to end on a low note, I totally get it. For many of our reseller friends out there, now hearing exactly what the Cassini algorithm is actually looking for, we realize that for the reseller business model, it actually doesn't naturally align with what it's looking for. When we think about the reselling model, constantly we are reminded that you have to create listings quickly, and there's often no time to craft very detailed listings or optimize every item specific. And let's be honest, spending time on professional photos for a one-off item, it's just not worth the time or the money. So when you think about the listings that you're creating on a reseller model, how is it possible to collect significant metadata in the long run, which is what Cassini is actually looking for on platforms like eBay? But here's the good news, guys. You can pivot to a business model from wherever you are to one that actually aligns with what Cassini is looking for. Now, personally, I constantly believe in sourcing things in person. So I'm always going to recommend you to go to a trade show because I believe in showing up in person to look and touch things as well as make deals through eye contact and in person. However, I understand that a lot of our friends out there are probably a little bit too introverted for that, or you're just looking for more of a convenience of sourcing from home. And for that, I have two options for you. One, you could go to Fiverr and hire yourself a sourcing agent. That would be the best way to have somebody do the heavy lifting for you. The other way is that you could either go to AliExpress.com or Temu.com and then go onto whatever niche it is that you're doing and find the item that you're looking for, but then add the word wholesale or bulk to the end of it, and then see the kind of listings that you're going to come up with. There's a lot of good deals out there for you to source out exactly where you get small bulk sourcing from at a low cost. And then from there, if you'd like to know more about that topic, I'm going to link you guys to a video at the end of this one that's going to teach you exactly how to take a business and start from scratch and go all the way into enterprise level e-commerce. So that's the video, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it and found it both interesting and entertaining. I certainly had a lot of fun making this particular episode, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care, everyone.